His Excellency Dasho Tshering Tobgay, Honorable Prime Minister of the Kingdom of Bhutan, is a Bhutanese politician and the Prime Minister of Bhutan since July 27, 2013. He served as a civil servant in the Department of Education in its Technical and Vocational Education section. His Majesty the King conferred him with the Longmar Scarf, a lifetime scarf, on December 17, 2014, at the 107th National Day celebration. He thus became the first recipient of the scarf since its reinstitution. On this occasion, we would like to humbly take the opportunity to invite His Excellency Dasho Tshering Tobgay to give a keynote speech on the stage.
Kuzuzangpo Sawjikap I join the distinguished gathering here today to offer our profound gratitude to His Holiness Somdet Phra Arya Vangsagatayana, the Supreme Patriarch of Thailand, for showering us with his blessings. The Most Venerable Professor Dr. Phra Brahma Pundit, President of the International Council for Day of Vesak, Buddhist masters, scholars, excellencies, distinguished guests. What a great occasion it is today for an international gathering to meet, celebrate, remember, and learn from the life of the Buddha. And how fortunate and blessed we are to be guests of the Royal Government of Thailand and Mahachulalongkornrajavidyalaya University, to the university. We who are present at this gathering owe a deep gratitude to the able organizers of this year's Vesak celebrations. The birth, enlightenment, and passing of the Buddha all happened in the second month of the Buddhist calendar, which is known in Sanskrit as Vaisakha. The Vesak day has been known by different names in different countries, and it has been celebrated for the last 2,000 years by all Buddhists all around the world to remind them of the three most sacred events in the Lord Buddha's life. I would like to thank the International Council for the United Nations Day of Vesak for organizing the event every year with great dedication. I most sincerely thank the International Council, the Supreme Sangha Council of Thailand, the Royal Thai Government, and MCU for making the Vesak Day celebrations every year ever more impressive, far-reaching, and influential. I am honored to say that His Majesty the King of Bhutan, Jigme Kesa Namgyel Wangchuk, conveys his respects to the Supreme Sangha Council of Thailand and sends his appreciation and greetings to the organizers and all the distinguished guests here. At the same time, I would like to pay my deep respects to the memory of the most revered His late Majesty, King Bhumibol Adulyadej, and join all Thai citizens in mourning their great loss while keeping him and his memory in their hearts. May His late Majesty's benevolent intentions and initiatives and philosophies benefit all the generations of Thais for all time to come. Several global issues were discussed in the previous Vesak Day celebrations. In particular, the past Vesak celebrations have brought out certain future directions for all Buddhist communities. I hope that this year's Vesak celebrations will be similarly fruitful and stimulating with its theme on Buddhist contribution to human development. I am honored to be here, though I am neither a Buddhist scholar nor a spiritual leader. I believe that my humble presence here today has to do with me being a citizen of Bhutan, which is the last Vajrayana Buddhist kingdom in the world. Our country, Bhutan, has been Buddhist continuously since the 8th century. In that long period, Buddhism has shaped our governance, our culture, and our lifestyle. The three highest teachers who left deep spiritual imprints on our country are the Buddha, Guru Rinpoche, and Shabdung Rinpoche. Guru Rinpoche is considered as the second Buddha because he brought Buddhism to Bhutan and the Himalayas from India in the 8th century. Shabdung Rinpoche, a monk, founded our nation in 1626 with the intention to make its citizens benefit from the Buddha's teachings and to influence governments of the country by the Buddha's teachings. To sketch a bit of a background to Bhutan as a Vajrayana Buddhist kingdom, both private and state Buddhist institutions are still vibrant and influential. Society in Bhutan is still steeped in the tenets of Vajrayana Buddhism, and the citizens of Bhutan are spiritual. The support of lay people and the state is very strong for monks and priests. Monasteries and hermitage are still very active. Buddhism is taught in schools, and people spend a substantial amount of time every day on spiritual activity. According to a national survey on time use in 2015, people spend 36 minutes on average every day for mantra, prayers, and meditation. And this daily average increased to 2 hours 25 minutes per day for those over 60 years of age. People spend more time on spiritual activities such as mantra and prayers as they grow older. Having sketched Bhutan's spiritual background, and in keeping with the theme of Buddhist contributions to human development, I would like to first talk briefly about how Bhutan, as a Vajrayana Buddhist state, has influenced human development in Bhutan. Then, I would like to talk briefly about Buddhist contributions to human development in general. As a Vajrayana Buddhist state, the main influences on human development in Bhutan has come from two sources: governance and leaders. Buddhism has influenced both the governance and its leadership in our country, and through these two institutions affected human development. Let us take leadership in Vajrayana Buddhist Bhutan. The Buddhist model of leadership has deeply influenced our leaders and our monarchs. Historically, everywhere in Asia, all Buddhist monarchs have aspired to live by the ideals of the model Buddhist ruler. The exemplar of the Buddhist monarch is the Chakravartin, the universal wheel-turning king. This concept of the Buddhist ruler has been an inspiration also among all our Buddhist monarchs. They have tried to live and rule from an enlightened attitude, as if following the original 10 duties of the king found in the Buddha's teachings. The 10 duties of the king that are applicable to any leader are charity, moral character, sacrifice for people's welfare, integrity, kindness, austerity, freedom from ill will, non-violence, patience, and non-opposition to the will of the people. Further, they have been inspired by the 6 far-reaching qualities advocating in the Prajna Paramitas, consisting of generosity, discipline, patience, diligence, meditative concentration, and wisdom. A Chakravartin, or a model Buddhist ruler, is an agent of Avalokiteshvara, the deity of compassion, with his 1,000 arms and 1,000 eyes. Avalokiteshvara shines the rays of his compassion on wholesome, mindful life towards all sentient beings. The ideals of governance that drew on both science and Buddhism for Bhutan was formulated by our first king, His Majesty Jigme Singye Wangchuk, as Gross National Happiness, or GNH. GNH is a development framework applied to official plans and programs. GNH is multidimensional, so as to take into account of the multidimensional inner and outer needs of human beings. The GNH Index and the policies and programs that advance it is based on 9 domains of GNH, which are psychological well-being, balanced time use, community vitality, cultural diversity and resilience, ecological diversity and resilience, health, education, good governance, and lastly, living standards or material conditions. There is a profound interdependency between the various domains of our lives, and our lives with the lives of others, including other sentient beings. Giving importance to health, education, good governance, and living standards are prevalent in most development strategies in most parts of the world. However, attaching equal importance to well-being, balanced time use, community vitality, cultural resilience, and ecology are consistent with the principles found in Buddhism for wholesome human life. His Majesty the King, Jigme Kesa Namgyel Wangchuk, has said that GNH is development with values. Most of the values underlying GNH are aligned broadly with Buddhism. An example, GNH measurement includes the qualitative measurements of emotions such as compassion, contentment, and calmness. It also includes measurements of mental strength, mental stress, and mental health. GNH also includes, as part of its indicators, a quantitative measurement for time use, the amount of time spent every day on meditation and meditative prayers. Happiness arises not only from material living conditions, but also arises interdependently from many other aspects of life. As all things arise interdependently, the cause of happiness should not be reduced to a few things. Human needs are diverse. They need a range of social, psychological, economic, and cultural conditions, and these conditions cannot be traded with income alone. When a range of these needs, these conditions are met, happiness arises interdependently. GNH as a development framework is complemented by a GNH composite index and various indicators to track the impact of policies and programs in Bhutan. So the implementation of the framework is to a large extent subjected to measurement and feedback from systematic surveys that are used for policy purposes. However, GNH is currently applied mostly for assessing and directing public plans and programs only. It leaves out the private sector. But G&H cannot be effective if the private sector business and corporations, those that drive the economy, do not reflect it. After all, globally, big companies generate greater part of GDP than many national governments. And big businesses are often more powerful than national governments. Corporate giants affect the environment, communities, culture, and the climate more than their consumers. In view of this, Bhutan has launched a G&H certification to be applied to businesses and corporations in Bhutan. This initiative on G&H certification we have started also welcomes corporations abroad to join this movement. Normal businesses may stress profits, turnover, and growth to the exclusion of other important concerns. But a business with a G&H perspective should minimize suffering and promote happiness of its workers and people in general. And it must neither destroy the planet nor sell cravings to the people. Buddhist values towards the environment and sentient beings have shaped G&H's high emphasis on ecological integrity in Bhutan. In the Buddhist vision, it's not just human beings, but all sentient beings that intrinsically aspire to happiness and therefore merit contentment, security, and peace. That's why we, human beings, have the responsibility to preserve the environment for our own happiness and for the sustained welfare of other sentient beings. When we look back at the progress made in human rights and freedoms, we see that there has been greater and greater protection of human rights all over the world. Consequently, lives lost to wars, murders, terrorism, and so forth has very fortunately decreased. But this is not the same picture we get when we take a look at the lives of other animals, both wild and domestic animals. The number of lives of animals taken, often violently, around the world has increased on an immeasurable scale in recent history. Statistics of slaughter of livestock show that 66 billion farm animals and 84 billion other animals are killed every year. Animals have the same capacity to suffer as human beings. They have psychological, behavioral, and evolutionary similarities with us. The welfare of an unimaginable number of livestock and wildlife also deserve the attention of human beings. In the case of Bhutan, Buddhism has molded our citizens' attitude to the environment and animals. Bhutan is one of the world's smallest countries, but it has undertaken one of the world's heaviest commitments to conservation. Bhutan is a biological hotspot. About 5,000 plant species, 200 mammalian species, and 700 bird species are found in a small country with its tremendous microclimatic ecology. Our country has devoted 51% of its surface areas to nature and wildlife reserves. It has written into its constitution that it will remain a minimum of 60% of its areas as forest. Today, we have 72% forest coverage. Bhutan is the first country to declare its aim to remain carbon neutral. Our entire country generates only 2.2 million tons of carbon dioxide every year, but our forests sequester 3 times that amount. So Bhutan is a net carbon sink, sequestering 4 million tons of carbon every year. Such conservation efforts would not have been possible in Bhutan without a national consensus based on Buddhist values. Let me now turn to Buddhist contribution to human development in general. Lord Buddha's Dharma is ultimately about how human beings ought to live. His ethics of living took account of our existence that is riddled by impermanence, unsatisfactory, and non-self. Among his countless teachings, Lord Buddha's teachings on ethics has been of direct relevance to human development. A person develops when the way towards the cessation of suffering is found. As Lord Buddha has taught, this ability to bring about cessation of suffering depends on insight and analytic understanding about how our psychology works. The inability to see reality as it is because of avidya or existential ignorance can be a main form of blindness. Indeed, avidya means not seeing or failing to be aware of the deep interdependence among all. According to Vajrayana Buddhism, followed in Bhutan, human beings' experiences of themselves occur through three gateways of experience: through their body, through their speech, and through their mind. Lord Buddha's teachings about behavioral, verbal, and mental actions that would lead to happiness and well-being is the main basis of human development in Vajrayana Buddhism. Human development depends on advancement of these three dimensions of experiences. As regards the body, the human body is the foundation and context of any experience. A body's realization of its subtle energies and powers and transformation depends on mind-body practices, from breathing and yoga to meditation. Speech or sound is another door of experience. The sound of music, chants, and mantras, and the sound of nature have tremendous bearing on perception and human well-being. The exploration of speech and sound that is healing and transformative is also a main door of human experience and path to human development. Above all, in modern society, with an increasingly powerful media, right or ethical communication has become extremely important. In terms of the mind as a third gateway of experience, in all schools of Buddhism, the first step is to experience tranquil awareness aimed at clarity and mindfulness. The mind should be free from being captured by impressions or thoughts. The final vision in Vajrayana Buddhism is to experience a state of non-dual mindfulness by practicing generation and completion stages. This stage requires tremendous ability of visualization. An advanced practitioner and human being is thus developed by a variety of practices that bring body, speech, and mind to its fullest potential. But for ordinary lay people, Vajrayana Buddhism recommends 10 virtuous deeds to be followed and 10 non-virtuous deeds to be given up with respect to their behavioral, verbal, and mental actions. These prescriptions were historically the main yardsticks for the development of human beings as well as societies in the Himalayas. In Buddhism, once a decent livelihood is secured, development is ultimately interpreted as a development of the person in terms of spiritual and psychological aspects. Decent fulfillment of needs or livelihood can be defined objectively according to the functioning. Needs are not relative. The causes of underdevelopment and associated suffering lies largely in the underdeveloped human spirit. Buddhist education and development are intended to enable people to have vijja, or true knowledge, through ability to see reality correctly. In this respect, the Buddhist education is a process of overcoming the three poisons of greed, aggression, and delusion. But dealing with the three poisons is no longer an individual issue. Buddhist social critics have pointed out that we have reached a stage of institutionalizing greed, aggression, and delusion through business corporations, weapons production systems, and misleading media and advertising. It is perhaps appropriate to complement and refer to the United Nations Human Development Index for the focus it has brought since the 1990s. In the Human Development Index that is used to rank nations by the UNDP, the key components are income, longevity, and literacy levels among the population of its member countries. These three constituent elements, including material progress, represented by income, as important for human welfare, are consistent with Buddhism. But we should remind ourselves that Buddhism stresses that material progress should be accompanied by spiritual and ethical progress. The Human Development Report, released in 1993, underlined the important caution that there is no automatic link between income and human development. It is not possible to make a logical transition from a high income level to a high standard of living, and further to a high level of happiness. This is also the contention of gross national happiness. The philosophy of the sufficiency economy, conceptualized and promoted by the late revered king of Thailand, is another example of human development approach that has elements drawn from Buddhism. I thank the most venerable Dr. Fra Brahma Pundit for succinctly explaining the essence of this profound development philosophy. Its three components, consisting of moderation, reasonableness, and self-immunity and resilience, which further depends on wisdom and integrity, are a prescription for people to live holistically. His late Majesty, King Rama IX, has said, "Sufficiency is moderation. If one is moderate in one's desire, one will have less craving, and one will take less advantage of others." End quote. The sufficiency economy's objective is to foster harmony and well-being for everyone in society. The example of sufficiency economy philosophy and gross national happiness in Bhutan, sufficiency economy philosophy in Thailand, and GNH in Bhutan, shows how different nations are tapping into Buddhism in the contemporary world at the national levels. And many other nations have been doing similar things in their own contexts. Buddhism's popularity has grown over the past half-century, along with interest in adapting it for applications in many spheres of human development. It is also most encouraging to note that applications of Buddhism for human development is taking place most notably at the non-governmental levels, among NGOs, civil society organizations, community organizations, religious bodies, non-profit organizations, universities, schools, cooperatives, business forums, and many other forms of organizations. Buddhism is becoming once again socially engaged and focused on the creation of the public good, as it has always been. It is already making major contributions in the field of holistic health, environmental preservation, good governance, conflict resolutions, media reforms, consumer awareness, and so forth. I would like to conclude by saying that we face a challenging and troubling future with arms race, ecological collapse, climate change, addictions, inequality, unfairness, conflicts, and technological and institutional domination of human beings. Yet, as Buddhists, we should remind ourselves that no situation is ever permanent and that it can be turned around. It can be reversed. All future situations are also merely possibilities that changes with positive values and intentions. Buddhism has ever more to contribute to holistic development for all and all for holistic development. We are all in a flux of a direction, and that direction can be maintained by the threefold qualities of prajna, or wisdom, samadhi, or concentration, and sila, or moral clarity, in each and every one of us. I thank you for your kind attention. I offer all of you realization of clarity and success in your enlightened endeavors. Thank you very much, and Tashidale.